Welcome back to Business and Enterprise on Ireland's first live web TV business programme. In the studio we have Colm Colgan, who is the normal presenter of Business and Enterprise worldwide. But this evening he's in the guest seat. So Colm, we dealt with in the first half your early days in business. So
my early days. So at the moment, what we're doing a couple of things. One of the things we're doing is disability equipment. We do the standard range of disability bathroom accessories that kind of you see going into bathrooms, either in a commercial or in a domestic setting, and they're kind of bread and butter issues. But one of the things that we do is that we are the Irish distributor for a thing called the Hippocamp all-terrain wheelchair. Now, if you're a wheelchair user, you're quite restricted in where you can go outdoors. Indoors, most buildings are now wheelchair accessible, but outdoors, if you want to go to the park, you have to go by the path. If you want to go to the beach, often what happens is, and it's generally children that it happens to, that a family will go to the beach. Daddy will stay with the child in the wheelchair in the car park while Mommy brings the rest of them onto the beach and they can sit and wave at each other, and that's it. With the Hippocamp wheelchair, you can actually go not only onto the sand, but if they feel like it, they can be pushed right into the sea. And it kind of brings the entire family together. But people
are a lot more conscious now, and thankfully that through the health and safety legislation and different guidelines through the HSE and the Department of Health and even some European rulings, that people are more aware of people who have maybe not necessarily even wheelchairs but impaired mobility, or like the term all ability access. I worked for or was a member of one of the rural transports, and they had a term all ability access, which left that even people that had limited mobility were included in some of the designs and the layouts and how they were considered to be supported. So that type of thinking, change in the mindset of people, must have been a help to you in the business.
It did. There was a lot more, and again, a lot of that happened, I suppose, in the Celtic Tiger era when we had a lot of money. Now a lot of lip service is paid to people with disability, but unfortunately when it comes to actually paying for it, the money isn't there, to the extent that we've been doing this wheelchair for a couple of years, and some have been funded by the HSE directly, others have been funded by the likes of Enable or the likes of Spina Bifida Hydrocephalus Ireland, who would in turn get the money from the HSE. The HSE dried it up because to an extent they looked upon the product that we were doing almost as a luxury. Now, how you can look a kid in the eye and say, doing what everybody else can do, going to the park, going to the beach, is a luxury, is beyond me.
But sometimes where the daycare centres and all that type of support for older people within the community, that would be only just an extension to the type of quality of life that people would get. And sometimes in trying to cut back on savings, they don't see the full picture, and the quality of life sometimes can be maybe the ingredient that will extend people's lives or stop them from getting depressed, or maybe stopping them going into residential care. And apparently the figures are something over 50,000 for people that are in residential care. So, with the aid of your device, allowing people to be independent, even if you only saved a couple of people in Ireland with one of those wheelchairs, that it could mean a tremendous quality of life for them.
But funny you should say about the costings, because my own mother was, at 94 she had to go into a nursing home. Just things are getting too much for her. But I have seen people in the very same nursing home at probably the cost of £1,000 a week, give or take, that for a home help, a couple of hours a day, perhaps an adaptation to their living quarters, would save the state a fortune. And if you multiply that by the amount of elderly people that there are in the country, I'm not sure what the numbers are, but it certainly must be in the hundreds of thousands.
And would you see that while we're talking about those type of things, that one department might say, the Department of Finance might set guidelines, you have to reduce the percentage by X 7 or 8 or 10% per annum, and then the other department says, this is the only area we can do. So there's no joined up thinking. It's almost like the transportation in Dublin now, they're only getting round to joining the two lines. But
no, they haven't started yet.
It's supposed to be starting next next week or something. But you know, the joined up thinking. Like, where is it that you know? And going back to maybe the political side of the thing, like, is there any way that it can be worked that somebody can get the point across that a bit of joined up thinking, see the bigger picture. Cost savings in other areas, 2, 3, maybe 4 years down the line, that there'll be huge cost for healthcare if they neglect X, Y, and Z now, just for short-term gain.
Absolutely, you know, it's absolute logical thinking. Now, in the same way Archbishop Brady was threatening to excommunicate certain people who were going to vote certain ways, I could possibly be excommunicated from the Fine Gael party for saying one man that had his head screwed on was Albert Reynolds. And I remember an interview with Albert Reynolds, must be late 80s, early 90s maybe, when he was the Minister for Transport. And he came up with this idea of bus lanes. I think because he was a bit of a traveller himself, and he'd obviously seen it somewhere, and this would be great. And he said, oh, great, you know what, I've seen this idea, and it's bus lanes. And more people then use the buses, which means there's less traffic, win-win all round. So I'm exaggerating because, as we all know, Albert was described as a one-page man. And he said, like, I'm exaggerating here, but all we really need is to paint a white line down the road, buses stay on that side, cars stay on that, and we'll have smoother route.
So a simple solution.
Solution like that. But he came up against the bureaucrats, and they said, I can't do this, can't do this. He says, look, I want that started by Monday week on a trial basis. Otherwise, I'll go out myself and I'll paint a white line. Right. And it happened. I particularly now, there are so many politicians really kind of looking after, I don't mean as in feathering their own nest, but looking after their own job. So that the big picture is no longer thought about. I suppose the classic example is we're all going to get free healthcare. And it turns out today, well, we're not quite ready for it. Well, what have you been doing? You know, if that was a company and the goal was to give their customers something, and if a year after we had not done that, you know, questions would be asked. Somebody wouldn't just stand up and say, well, we're going to have a bit of a rethink about it and we'll come back to it. But unfortunately, that's what's happening on that, on health issues. And as you said, there are issues that people could...
Well, some of the health issues might be affecting you in your business, but also you're a member of the Chamber of Commerce, you're a proactive member of the Chamber of Commerce, and there's been a change in we'll say, in the local one. But can you see that by working through the Chamber of Commerce or the national body that businesses can get points across? There must be working groups within the government that they can, you know, make assistance to employment and to sustainability within the business community. Would you see that the Chamber of Commerce would have a role in that?
Well, certainly the Chamber of Commerce, the Cavan Chamber of Commerce, and indeed any Chamber of Commerce throughout the country would have a better chance of getting the ear of a minister than an individual, unless you're a very big multinational. But your small average business in an average town, if they wanted to make a point, they obviously wouldn't get even past the door. Whereas the Chamber of Commerce will get in and they'll be listened to, and they'll be given tea, and they'll be probably given chocolate biscuits and nice china plates, and they'll say that is a brilliant solution and we'll take it on advisement. But, you know...
And there's also one other thing that I want to get to, Colm, that I noticed that you use the social media to promote the show through the Chamber of Commerce, which is a very proactive way of getting the message out. Would you feel that there's scope within businesses now to deal with that? Because it's not just a local market. Some people say, oh, why should I be advertising on the web or something? But when people come home on holidays, it means then that if you have a presence on the web, they say, oh, geez, I saw that, you know, I must go into that, maybe buy a present going home, or buy a present from my parents, or coming to visit. Would you see that social media through Twitter and Facebook is an important tool for people within the business community?
Absolutely, because most people involved in business have some presence on the web. Most customers are now looking at the web, not necessarily looking for your product, but if you're innovative, your product will pop up in front of them either by paid ads or by a campaign that you run.
But also, you know, you're actually the first live web TV business and enterprise show in Ireland, because with the programmes going out every week live to the web worldwide, as I said earlier, there's now 203 countries would have viewed the product that you're putting out on the business side of things. And so, promoting the business through the likes of a web TV channel that you're on, the business and enterprise, that has many platforms, because a lot of the other national web TV channels take the programme that you do. So also sometimes people forget the value of the emerging technology in the web TV stations.
Absolutely. But when you think of the advertisement that's on TV at the moment, you have the likes of Sky on Demand, you have the likes of Netflix. Everything is moving through the web now. And again, going back to when we had pirate stations and we had little wires running out of bedroom windows up trees, that's no longer the case. Everything is on the web now. And it's sophisticated stuff on the web. People are searching for stuff on the web, and people are expecting to find entertainment on the web. My son, although he's at home at the moment, he lives in Dundalk, doesn't have a TV. Gets his television, gets all his entertainment from his laptop. He has a broadband connection. Anything that he wants to see, it's either be a new channel.
Yeah, but it's also very effective, very cost-effective means, because the traditional method was printing A5 or A4 flyers and putting them on cars and putting them indoors, and if you look at even the size of the phone book now, it's not even a fraction of the size it used to be, because somebody have their mobile phone, they log on to Google, they do a search, and any astute business would have their phone number, and they've even the facility to dial directly from the web page through the phone, so you don't have to think, I'm going to write this down or memorise or anything, just hit the button. So that's social media, and the ability to be able to get the message across is obviously beneficial to businesses. And would you feel that it should be promoted more, and people should be moving towards it a little bit faster, even though they mightn't have the IT skills, but there's people around that can give them that assistance?
Absolutely. The County Enterprise Board, Cavan County Enterprise Board, are forever running courses on it. You get private trainers running courses on it, and it's the skill of the future. I remember buying my first mobile phone in 1990, I think it was 1 or 2, and I only got it because a customer of mine was importing them, and he kind of twisted my arm. And I thought, what the hell will he have?
Probably the old Motorola one with the big air.
It was a big huge thing. You got 2 batteries, because the battery lasted about 3 hours while one was used, the other was recharging. But I remember saying, this is stupid. What's the point of a mobile phone? And now when you think that every kid over 10 not only has a mobile phone in their pocket, has a mini computer in their pocket, probably more powerful than computers that were desktops 10 years ago. Everything is changing, and if you want to stay in business, as I said, I've had to adapt and change in real terms and in technical terms over the years, and that is the way it's going. So if you want to stay in business, social media is the way forward, and you have to grasp it. You may say, it doesn't suit my business, or it's not my type of thing, but you have to grasp it.
Well, unfortunately, while we accept and we're promoting that, unfortunately, time is up against us again, and we'd like to thank Colm for coming in, because he doesn't get too many opportunities to talk about his own business when he's presenting it to the world. So thanks very much, Colm, and that's all from Business and Enterprise for this week. See you, or Colm will see you next week.